This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. We look now at reproductive rights in the United States, which are a key issue in this presidential election, now less than 50 days away. On Tuesday, Republican senators once again blocked legislation to protect access to IVF, in vitro fertilization, and require health insurers to cover the fertility treatment after Democrats forced a vote. Meanwhile, Vice President Kamala Harris slammed Donald Trump, her Republican rival, for his role in abolishing national abortion rights after he appointed 3 of the Supreme Court justices who issued the Dobbs ruling overturning Roe v. Wade. In an interview yesterday with the National Association of Black Journalists in Philadelphia, Vice President Harris cited the case reported by ProPublica of Amber Thurman, a 28-year-old black woman in Georgia who died from a fatal infection after doctors refused to treat a rare complication from a medication abortion.
I don't know if anyone here has heard most recently the stories out of Georgia. A tragic story about a young woman who died because it appears the people who should have given her health care were afraid they'd be criminalized after the Dobbs decision came down. Laws that make no exception even for rape or incest, which means that you're telling a survivor of a crime of a violation to their body that they have no right to make a decision about what happens to their body next, which is immoral. An approach that doesn't take into account that most people, I think, agree you don't have to abandon your faith or deeply held beliefs to agree the government should not be telling her what to do with her body.
Georgia's Maternal Mortality Review Committee found Amber Thurman's death was preventable and largely due to delays in care. This comes as Project 2025 staffer, former Trump White House personnel chief John McEntee, doubted the danger of abortion bans in a TikTok post last Thursday.
Can someone track down the women Kamala Harris says are bleeding out in parking lots because Roe v. Wade was overturned? Don't hold your breath.
McEntee was widely ridiculed as women posted responses about their experiences being denied care. Well, today, ProPublica published a new report on a second woman in Georgia who died from medical abortion complications. Candi Miller's family said she didn't visit a doctor, quote, due to the current legislation on pregnancies and abortions, unquote. Overall, deaths due to complications from abortion pills are extremely rare. For more, we're joined by 2 guests. Monica Simpson is with us. She's executive director of SisterSong, the National Women of Color Reproductive Justice Collective based in Georgia. And Ziva Branstetter is also joining us from Walnut Creek, California, senior editor at ProPublica, who helped edit 2 new reports by Kavitha Surana. We welcome you both back to Democracy Now! I want to begin with Ziva. Vice President Harris cited your investigation in her answers to questions from the National Association of Black Journalists yesterday. Can you lay out the stories?
Correct. Well, thank you, first of all, Democracy Now! For having me on to talk about the reporting by ProPublica and reporter Kavitha Surana. We have reported 2 stories. Both deaths of these women occurred in the months following the overturn of Roe v. Wade by the Supreme Court. Both were in Georgia. Both were African-American women. The first case, Amber Thurman, 28-year-old single mother with a 3-year-old son. She died after doctors did not provide care over about a 20-hour period in the emergency room. She had taken abortion medication to end her pregnancy, and fetal tissue remained, which is a very rare complication of taking abortion medication, very simply solved with a procedure called a D&C that doctors did not provide over 20 hours in the emergency room. That procedure in almost all cases in Georgia now and in other abortion ban states is a felony. Doctors could face criminal prosecution for performing it. We don't know what was going through their minds, but they did not operate over 20 hours, and she died in August of 2022. The story that we just published today on ProPublica's website is about Candi Miller, a 41-year-old woman, also from Georgia, mother of three, who also self-managed her abortion at home, which is becoming far more regular under abortion bans. She took abortion medication, again, rare complication. Instead of going to the hospital, she was afraid to seek care and did not, and died at home with a mixture of drugs that her family believes was trying to manage the pain. And she died as well in November of 2022. That death has been ruled by the state preventable. And not only that, directly related to the state's abortion ban, which is the first time we've seen this reported.
And explain the abortion ban in Georgia.
Correct. It's a 6-week ban. We classify that almost the same as a complete ban, because many people who can become pregnant don't know at that point that they are even pregnant. And experts say a 6-week ban is tantamount to a complete ban. And there are no health exceptions in Georgia's ban. Well, Candi Miller had lupus. She had hypertension. She had diabetes. She's 41 years old. She already has 3 children. She found herself pregnant. Doctors had told her, your body cannot survive another pregnancy. It will kill you. So she had literally no good options under Georgia's abortion ban.
Now, can you talk about how rare medication abortion complications are, Ziva?
In about 6 million people since the FDA approved abortion medication have used it, and there have been 31 deaths of any kind. Only 11 of those from sepsis. It is 0.0005% of cases that are fatal, which is a lower complication rate than penicillin and Viagra. And so it's extremely safe. All medications have risk. There is a simple solution to a complication with abortion medication, and that is a D&C. And abortion ban states, for the vast majority of cases, criminalize that procedure.
I want to turn to Monica Simpson. You're executive director of the Georgia organization SisterSong. Can you talk about the levels of Black maternal mortality in Georgia?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me this morning. We are devastated to hear this news and to see that Black women are still not being treated in the ways that they need to by our healthcare system in Georgia. What is real in the state of Georgia is that we are in a maternal health care crisis in our state. We are a state that has yet to expand Medicaid, which means that thousands upon thousands of people are already falling under the radar and not getting access to the care that they need. And on top of that, we are dealing with the fact that we are in this country seeing Black women die at a rate 3 to 4 times higher than white women in childbirth, right? So we look at that and coupled with the fact that Georgia has a desert of OBGYN availability in our state. There are over half of our states that do not, half of our counties that do not have access to an OBGYN. So people are having to travel miles upon miles just to get care. So when you bring all of that together in this context of a state that is also dealing with a 6-week abortion ban, SisterSong is the lead plaintiff in that case against our state. We have been fighting that for many years now, trying to get this ban removed. We are seeing a really dire picture for Black women and for people in general in the state of Georgia.
In this case that ProPublica talked about today, the story of Candi Miller. Monica, Candi Miller's health was so fragile. I'm reading the first sentences. Candi Miller's health was so fragile, doctors warned having another baby could kill her. So she was already at high risk. Her previous pregnancy was high risk, but she was terrified to go to the doctor. Talk about that, what this means, and the number of women who may be suffering or have died that we don't know. It's because of their fear of going to the doctor, that they would be criminalized.
Absolutely. We hear this story far too often, that we know too many Black women in particular right, are saying that they do not feel safe when they go to their doctor. They don't feel as if they're listened to. They don't feel as if they're trusted. We have seen this show up in the lives of people who are celebrities like Serena Williams, right? So if we have people who have the amount of privilege and resources that a Serena Williams has, and they are still not listened to and trusted by healthcare providers, imagine what that looks like on the ground for everyday people who are trying to get access to care. In our membership, we get these stories all the time that we don't feel like we're trusted. We don't feel like we're going to get access to the information that we want. And so it silences people. And we know that that silence then drives people inward, and it does not allow them to be able to move towards the solutions that they need for themselves and their families. So this is a really sad day in the state of Georgia. Our elected officials need to be on top of this more than ever. And we have to take this very seriously, because we knew, and we have been saying since the Dobbs decision, and even before then, that when you remove access, restrict access, ban access to life-saving care, health care that people need, then those who have historically been pushed to the margins will be the ones most affected. And we are seeing that in the state of Georgia, where these Black women have lost their lives to a preventable issue that could have been taken care of in real time.
At the Democratic Convention, a ceremony roll call to nominate Kamala Harris as president included Kate Cox speaking for Texas. She'd spoken out after she was forced to flee Texas to get abortion care after learning her pregnancy was not viable. She was introduced by former Planned Parenthood President Cecile Richards, who had an op-ed in the New York Times this weekend, headlined, "Harris is good on abortion rights. Now she needs to take it to 11. Other featured speakers included 3 other women impacted by abortion bans: Hadley Duval of Kentucky, Amanda Zorowski of Texas, Caitlin Joshua of Louisiana. This is Caitlin Joshua.
2 years ago, my husband and I were expecting our second child. Our daughter, Lauren, couldn't wait to be a big sister. I was getting ready for her 4th birthday party when something didn't feel right. 2 emergency rooms sent me away. Because of Louisiana's abortion ban, no one would confirm that I was miscarrying. I was in pain, bleeding so much my husband feared for my life. No woman should experience what I endured, but too many have. They write to me saying, "What happened to you happened to me." Sometimes they're miscarrying, scared to tell anyone, even their doctors. Our daughters deserve better. America deserves better.
Caitlin Joshua is an African-American woman. Ziva, you mention her case in both your ProPublica articles.
Yes. Well, obviously, as has been noted by your other guests, the burden of this issue falls heaviest on Black women, on women of color. I think it's very interesting to note that there have been literally dozens of cases like hers across the country where women have had a rush across state lines, have been denied care. There are now 2 confirmed deaths in an abortion ban state that have been ruled preventable by an official committee, including 10 doctors. Both are Black women. I don't think it's an accident that we're seeing this pattern. I think there are more cases out there. ProPublica is certainly interested in hearing from people whose loved ones may have died, who have questions about how they died, and we are going to keep looking into them.
I wanted to give Monica Simpson the last word. Cecile Richards had spoken at the DNC. She actually is suffering from brain cancer right now. And in this op-ed piece she just wrote for The Times, her headline, "Harris is good on abortion rights. Now she needs to take it to 11. Do you agree with this?
I do think that we are in a time where we have to not just look at where we are, we have to think about where we want to go, right? And what we have been saying for many, many years is that we know that a federal right to abortion is necessary, but access is even more imperative. And so when we think about the state of where we are in this country, knowing that we don't have the federal right, and we were already suffering from lack of access to abortion care, we have to think about this at the next level. How do we make sure that we're not only creating the opportunities for legislation that creates a federal right to be achieved, but that we are expanding access?
We have to leave it there. Monica Simpson, Executive Director of SisterSong, and Ziva Branstetter, editor at ProPublica. We'll link to both your pieces. I'm Amy Goodman. Thanks so much for joining us.